where news comes first. This is ABC-7 Extra.
A major motion picture racking up recognitions and nominations this award season prominently features El Paso and the Borderland. Our region has often been seen in Hollywood productions, but what is the state of the film industry in our area, and what impact do state policies and incentives have in the possibility of bringing more to the Borderland in the future? Welcome to ABC-7 Extra Sunday. Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrew J. Polk. ABC-7's Rishi Oza spoke with some of the actors, or skaters more accurately, involved in One Battle After Another and how it showcases our area.
These four El Paso skaters are Gilberto, Julian, Elijah, and Luis. They appear in One Battle After Another, which took the theaters by storm last year, but in 2024, it took the streets of El Paso. Some of the film was shot downtown.
We all kind of looked at each other, we were like, oh man, like, what did we get ourselves into, you know?
BG, what's the plan? I'm thinking. Is that my weapon?
It's still unbelievable until this day, man. Like, I'm still, like, in awe of how, like, I'm in the big screen, you know?
They learned of the opportunity through a mutual friend. Then they met the casting director for their audition.
We started skating, kind of doing our thing. Through that, they showed it to Paul Thomas Anderson, and Paul just said, these are our guys.
In the film, they helped Leonardo DiCaprio's character escape law enforcement so he can find his daughter. They were able to bring their own flair into the role.
They just wanted some skateboarders to kind of add that culture, that aspect of freedom that is what skateboarding is for us. We've been skateboarding our whole life, so it's one of those vehicles that kind of helps you escape.
They only filmed for 11 days, but they were able to interact with some of the best filmmakers in the world.
He'd ask for input, like, what would you think this would be fun or whatever, and he would mention, like, have you seen, like, this movie? Do you know that reference? I'm like, oh, totally, like, you know.
For the life of my only child, the answer to your question, what time is it?
I was filming more with Benicio del Toro, and he told me, well, we were just talking, he was like, oh, you play in a band? Because that's really cool. Being able to, like, talk to him like that on a personal level, for sure.
I got up on one of the rooftops that they used to film the movie and relive what it was like shooting the scenes that they were in.
Just watching the colors of that building and just seeing downtown pretty much come to life in a movie is just like, it's an unreal experience. Right here they had like the ladder propped up, and it's perfect to like just jump and kind of land on like. That's a lot further than I thought, man. Yeah. Having Leo in the back as well, and he was directing Luis. I was working with Sensei, and it was just cool to have that synergy of us just like creating something and making it feel more real.
All four of these skaters are from El Paso, and all four of them love movies. Being able to show their city on a national stage was a dream come true.
He didn't really do anything to aesthetically change the city.
Paul Thomas Anderson's here, and I remember telling him, like, hey man, you're making this city look really beautiful. He's like, no, it's like the city was already beautiful. We just need cameras to, you know?
In recent years, more and more films have been shot in the Borderland and in El Paso. Benicio del Toro has been part of multiple, including Sicario back in 2015. The skaters hope One Battle After Another can bring more movies to El Paso.
Viva la revolucion!
Yeah, they were able to showcase, like, our beautiful city, the frontera, you know, the people here, the shops. It was cool that they were able to see that and just put it on for the rest of the world to see.
I think El Paso's now finally at that moment where people are starting to notice like how beautiful downtown is, how beautiful the people are, how beautiful it is to film here. So I'm very grateful to be from El Paso and to be on the screen as skateboarders from El Paso.
Joining me now in studio is Jacob Senna, who was a location manager for El Paso for One Battle After Another. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me on, Andrew.
Happy to speak with you because we're always very excited when we see representations of our region in places outside of our region. But what is the significance of having a production like this happen, at least in part, in El Paso?
It's a strong significance because, the impact that this movie had on the region, it created local jobs. We filmed a lot of it in downtown El Paso. It was 1 year and 3 months in the making. So at least that's how long I was on the show for. And you know, it's a collaborative effort, you know. So it was just a lot of moving parts to make this process come to fruition.
Yeah, I don't think anyone who's ever seen any behind-the-scenes anything for when it comes to a Hollywood production would think that it's a simple thing, just a couple of camera setups. We even saw, again, some of the clips and then some of what Rishi featured, the amount of stuff behind the frame that you don't see, the amount of just people, equipment, machinery. I mean, there's a lot involved. It's more like kind of setting up a company in any place that you're going than it is just putting up a camera or a tripod like we do kind of every day.
Right, of course. It's a production, like for One Battle After Another was a production of up to 200 crew members. So you can imagine the size, like a big army operation. But everybody's assigned to a certain position. On this one, I was in the location department. And so we had 12 location managers on that. And I was actually very fortunate to be a part of that because I represent El Paso, Texas, and also, with the film incentive program that we were lagging because One Battle After Another did not qualify for any incentive program that we did not have for them. So it was a monstrous task to try to have a production that big on El Paso soil to film, where they could have easily gone to New Mexico with the 35% rebate that they have.
Sure, and there are definitely some significances there we'll talk to a little bit later. But so in actually then having it here, what did it take to bring, Paul Thomas Anderson and all of that crew and all of that back end to our region to then actually make this film?
It's like I said, it was a culmination of a lot, and so many moving pieces. But I can tell you that I had a lot of help with our county judge, Ricardo Samaniego. He was instrumental in helping us facilitate like a downtown riot scene that we filmed. We had 300 extras. We needed a place to facilitate all the extras, right? So we also had to use the facility, and he was very helpful with us. And also the city of El Paso, we had our interim city manager, Carrie Weston, which was very instrumental in helping us also with costs, bring the cost down. Because remember, Warner Bros. Did not qualify for any incentive program, so we were trying to. It was a very strategical balancing act, and Warner Brothers relied on my knowledge and my expertise of building the motion picture business for 25 years to help them create this, to make it. So it was a collaborative effort. You know what I mean? And the people. Paul Thomas Anderson fell in love with the people. And our food, even though he's a vegan, he loves our people, and he loved the city. It's aesthetically, it's one of the prettiest cities. It's very unique. And I also had Bill Helm, whom you know is with our situ. He's a master architect, and he was very instrumental in helping us for safety protocols to have Leonardo DiCaprio on some of the rooftops. So.
Yeah, actually that rooftop, as was mentioned by Rishi, is one of them is the rooftop of his office building, Bill Helm,
Correct.
as you mentioned, with in situ architecture. So in getting those scenes set up, people from around the region, if they've seen that part and remember that part of the film, recognize some iconic backdrops of the skyline of El Paso. Some things that were notable in there, like the Abraham Chavez Theater, the American Furniture sign, some of those murals that are in downtown. So setting up that part specifically and all those rooftop scenes, what did that take?
Well, first of all, is safety. Everything I'm location manager, I'm professional location manager. I've been doing motion picture for 25 years. However, there's a lot. Warner Brothers safety protocols is safety. So we relied a lot on architecture, Bill Helm, to make sure our rooftops were safe, okay? Remember, we had 200 people on the set, so there's a bunch of moving ants everywhere. But we also had 12 location managers on this, and we had the best location managers on planet Earth. They've done the biggest movies in Hollywood. They were here in El Paso, and they all loved El Paso, and they were very instrumental in helping us come to fruition as well. So it was a collaborative effort.
But what was it like then to see the final result there of, all of these months of work, like you're talking about, many months in order of years, then seeing it come together for what was a pretty quick sequence in the film, but, a very smooth and it was, very interesting one to see. So what was it like to see that then finality after all the work that you and the others put into it?
We're very proud of the work, I know that Paul Thomas Anderson has many more hours that he filmed, but everything gets cut and edited, But I hope for him to have an extended, behind the scenes look or something like that. That'd be kind of cool, but we'll see. But it was magical, to be honest with you. El Paso was unified. The whole community was crazy. Everybody's the talk of the town, It was a magical event, so I'm very proud to have been a part of that. So.
Absolutely, makes a lot of sense here. So beyond the recent notable production, there's been a lot of movies made and a lot of focus on continuing that for the future for El Paso. Coming up, what's in the works for and coming to the region. You're watching ABC-7 Extra. Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. I'm Andrew J. Polk. Continuing our discussion on the state of the film industry in El Paso with Jacob Sena, who, among other things, worked as a film location manager on One Battle After Another. Thanks very much for sticking around with us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely happy to speak with you about it because involving and setting up a movie like that, what would make it more likely for something of size of this production to come back to our region or happen more frequently even?
That's a very, very, very good question. So it's going to take some time, to be honest with you, because Texas and El Paso is trying to get a film incentive program going. And so it all starts with that. So kind of put this in perspective. We have a director that loves aesthetics. Paul Thomas Anderson loves El Paso. We also have the production side of things, right? That's where the money is. So they want an incentive. They want some kind of a tax reduction rate so they could be able to make their projects come to our Sun City to be able to work and do a film. So we need some kind of incentive program. So that's where we're working on that. I've working a lot with Destination El Paso. Brooke Underwood is the current interim film commissioner right now, and April Sanchez is the assistant with Destination El Paso. And I'm in very good talks with our county judge, Ricardo Samaniego, and our mayor, Renard Johnson, and they are both extremely helpful, and they've been in talks, and so have I with them. We're creating a plan, strategic plan, to start bringing in more film productions of this nature, of this size, because they will create jobs locally. Okay, so it's a process, but we want to do it accurately. We want to do it methodically, and that way it goes on for generations, because it can create jobs for many generations to come. So it'll stimulate the economy. So yeah.
And a question always comes up around when we're talking about this kind of thing about what has been made here previously. So, of course, with One Battle After Another is just the most recent example. You've both worked on some previous ones in our region,
yes,
as well as there have been many previous notable ones even then. So what are some ones that comes to mind when you answer that question about, so what's been made here?
Well, I've done a lot for 25 years, so I'm dating my age here. But I'll tell you, I kind of wrote down my notes. So I worked on big projects like The Counselor, with Brad Pitt, Penelope Cruz, Cameron Diaz, Michael Fassbender. We did some scenes in downtown El Paso years back. I worked with Memory with Liam Neeson, and the director was Bruce Moriarty. He was a co-director for Back to the Future 2 and 3. And so I also worked on Glory Road, Walt Disney Pictures, back in 2003. I was the assistant picture car coordinator. I was responsible for 155 picture cars, brought them in to set. So that was my first biggest movie. And ever since then, I've been, my phone is kept ringing, thank God.
It takes a lot of money for productions to happen, all those people at the very least. So what are some of the things that you're working on in terms of both, specific productions in our area, stuff that might be coming up that people will see in the future, and again, that kind of structure to make them more feasible in the future?
So we have structure in play. Like I said, we have a lot of local talented filmmakers, okay? But unfortunately, they can't work in New Mexico because New Mexico has that 35% discount for filmmakers, but part of the prerequisite is that you can't be a Texan, you have to be from New Mexico. See, so a lot of local filmmakers in El Paso, they're not able to work in New Mexico, unfortunately. So that's what I'm saying. We're trying to strategize, and like I said, I'm working a lot with Destination El Paso, with our mayor, and their pro film. We're coming up with a strategic plan to be on top of it and do it really nicely. That way, everybody can get a piece of this, and it's just going to grow the economy. El Paso is going to be a booming town. It's a beautiful city. It's the best city on the planet.
Would agree with you on that point here. But again, our guest right now has been Jacob Sena, a film location manager for, among other things, One Battle After Another. Thank you very much for speaking with us this evening about what you've worked on and what it means for our area.
Thank you.
Appreciate it greatly. And of course, when it comes to incentives, there is a difference, as was mentioned, across state lines, how it works in New Mexico and what's in the works there. Coming up, you're watching ABC-7 Extra. Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. I'm Andrew J. Polk. There's been a lot of work in our region to focus on bringing more film and media production here, but incentives and programs do differ across state lines. So joining me now to talk about those aspects is Andrew Hara, film liaison with Film Las Cruces. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
Happy to speak with you about it because while we did talk a bunch about El Paso and again One Battle After Another, there have been a number of things that have been made in Las Cruces in southern New Mexico. Question always comes up, what would people have seen scenes. So when people ask you that question, what do you tell them?
Well, and it's always changing because movies keep coming in. We've had Brokeback Mountain film their Mexico scenes in Las Cruces. We had parts of Indiana Jones. I actually worked on that as a PA in college. And so we've had Indiana Jones and Crystal Skull. Recently, we had Tyler Perry just released his film, Joe's College Road Trip, that filmed a big section of their finale in Las Cruces. We just had that one. We had Protector with Mila Jovovich. It's in theaters right now. It's at Premier Cinemas and in Allen Theaters in Las Cruces. And then we had last year, we had In the Summers, which ended up winning Sundance. It won Best Overall Picture. So those are the big ones that we've kind of had recently. And then we've had, of course, a lot of little ones. One of the great things about Las Cruces film is right now, last year, we had productions every single month of the year. So we've been building every year, so it's great.
Yeah, like I understand that one of the intro scenes for Eddington was using the iconic one of the water towers there in Las Cruces.
Right. And even when, like, Eddington's a great example, One Battle as well, even when the productions don't shoot in Las Cruces, like, we help them find vendors, we help them find crew. So even, like, if they don't shoot specifically in Las Cruces does kind of help out the entire region.
So when it comes to how it works for, again, New Mexico, but then, of course, Las Cruces specifically, what kind of things are in place to make films more possible, viable, et cetera, in that part of the area?
Sure. So we have a lot of things that kind of bring productions here. Of course, we have the two film schools with NMSU has their CMI program. We have DACC that has their CMT program. And they just opened a new facility that's also part of a studio, so training on that. We have a lot of infrastructure, such as the Gold Room, which is our prop house, that opened last year. Oh, no, opened 2 years ago, but they just expanded because they've been so busy. And so we have a lot of infrastructure. We have a lot of crew coming from those film schools. And then, of course, we have our incentive. There is the state incentive, which is a 25% incentive across the entire state of New Mexico. But then we have what's called the rural incentive, which Film Las Cruces and our president, Jeff Steinborn, helped kind of facilitate, and that gives us an extra 10 to 15%. So you can get all the way to 40% incentive for filming in Las Cruces or any place that's 60 miles outside of Albuquerque or Santa Fe. And so a lot of the productions take advantage of that. One of the great things about our incentive is, like a lot of other places, and every state has their own kind of incentive, is that there is no minimum budget for our incentive. So if you're a film student and you have $100 and you want the incentive back on that, you can get it. We always tell them that's a lot of paperwork for like $25. But if some of these I myself am a filmmaker and I made films for not big budgets, but small budgets, and being able to tap into that incentive, even as a small production, really does help everyone, and it kind of helps you buy crew or pay crew and all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the things that kind of helps set us apart and also helps productions, regardless of their size, take advantage of the incentives in New Mexico.
So as your work with Film Las Cruces, what kind of things are you hearing from studios or from other filmmaking concerns about what they're interested in and kind of what they need to make it work here?
I think right now, the thing that we're always needing, whether it's Las Cruces, El Paso, just anyone in the area, is just crew members. One of the great things about us is we do have those film schools, but getting union crew members is always going to be not a challenge, but it's something that we're trying to grow. And every year we have been growing at that, but that seems to be the main kind of thing that the productions are still looking for. They can, and because of the fact that we're so busy, I think last year we had at one point 3 productions at the same time. And when you have 3 productions, it's hard to have that much crew. But that's one of the things that we are also focused on, is making sure that crew members know who to reach out to for the unions, know where to go. We have our database that they can sign up for. So it's just ways to try to get productions to know the crew base there and to help them, and so that they can help each other, and also staying in contact with the union so that they know as well that they can join that and it's part of it,
Besides about what is possible in the region and maybe in production now, what can you talk about and what really does the potential hold?
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things happening right now. We broke ground last September on the $15 million studio space that is coming to Las Cruces. They're getting ready to actually start the construction on that. They were working through the plans. And so that's going to be a big game changer for us because, of course, studio space, and then they just got approved to build that, and so that should be good. Of course, like I said, infrastructure keeps coming in. We have gotten grip teams who weren't here last year and have come into that region. We've gotten costume designers. And so it's all that kind of stuff where they're starting to set up and realize that because we've been so busy, that Las Cruces really is a great place for film. We always say that we're a great place for independent film, and it seems that Hollywood is kind of starting to hear it more and more. Even now, when I started, we would reach out to people and they would say, where is Las Cruces? Like, how close is it to Albuquerque? And now we reached out to these production companies and they say, oh, we're waiting. We're waiting for a good project to send your guys' way. So it is kind of people hearing about it. And so to me, that's the most exciting thing because, of course, with the studio, we're going to get, because we have that new facility for the students that are learning how to work in the studio, that's going to help them kind of stay those crews here in Las Cruces. That's one of the biggest things, is just making sure that crews have enough work to stay here. And now, not only do we have crews staying here, but we have crew members from Albuquerque who are moving back and saying, hey, I heard there's more work here, so I'm going to kind of come back and work here for now. So that's one of the great things that we have to look forward to.
Again, guest right now has been Andrew Hada, film liaison with Film Las Cruces. Thank you very much for talking to us today about what's going on in your part of the region.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely happy to have you on, and thank you for joining us. I'm Andrew J. Polk. Stay safe out there, look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening and week ahead. I'll see you next Sunday night.